We took 25 farmers from an even spread across Australia. We focused on going to China, Beijing and districts, and down to Vietnam in Ho Chi Minh City. The real purpose of this was to get behind the data to see in real life how these markets are playing out, but for our own customers to gauge what these markets mean for them today and what they might mean for them in the future.
What I've observed throughout China and Vietnam in particular is that there's a real appetite and an insatiable appetite for grain. We read back at home that there's a lot of requirement for grain quality. Grain quality is talked about a lot, and I think we talk about grain quality in probably in two different tones or languages. So, and in Asia, and in particular China and Vietnam, what we've seen is quality is more around food safety and security has been really, really important, more so than any sort of distinguishing quality characteristics at this point in time.
But the thing that hit us most, I think, was the fact that there was produce there, dairy produce, meat, from lots and lots of countries. Australia was just a very small part of it, so if we can get our act together, our marketers get their act together, there's just got to be huge potential.
The hypermarkets in China were fascinating. I expected to see much more Australian branding. I thought the presentation generally of Australian products was quite poor. It opened my mind to understand that it is a massively competitive market and that all of the international players were there and were doing a good job of it. So the Australian products have got a long way to go in terms of being presented and opening up those markets like I was talking earlier.
See how the population's moving away from just buying food to buying quality food, and I guess that quality drive is becoming particularly important for the middle classes from what I can see.
And that the Australian product, regardless of quality, is generally very well accepted by Southeast Asia, and they're most sensitive to price, first, second and third most.
And what we're trying to look at for businesses ourselves is to extend our reach further into the supply chain. So not only selling to our domestic consumers, but if we can control or have some input in selling further abroad, hopefully it returns better value to our organisation, but also to the growers that we're storing on behalf of and accumulating grain from throughout Victoria.
I think Australia should be presenting more of a collective front, and I think the grain industry in particular has gone down a pathway of globalisation for large multinationals, and they are looking for multi-origin and multi-destination, which may not necessarily be aligned to the interests of the Australian producers. Now, if we can get back to an area where the Australian product is respected and appreciated in the market. So it's really about branding and about identifying the traceability of it. We may in fact be able to extract some sort of continuity of marketplace as well as a premium price.
But for our own customers to gauge what these markets mean for them today and what they might mean for them in the future. Does this mean that they will choose to go to market directly? Maybe. Possibly and more probably even not, but what does it tell them about how their own supply partners and trading partners are going to this market? What is it that they produce to the ultimate consumer, and how can they align their own production effort to something that gives them a much better chance as a business to be profitable, capturing value and forming alliances which will take their businesses into a much better space in the future.